Yo, what is up guys? And today we have another balance adjustment preview for the patch that is coming on the 27th of September. Now I did catch a cold, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird today, I apologize. Just bear with me, I'm going to try to get through this as fast and as efficiently as possible because there are some very huge buffs coming to the game, which we should all be excited for because this might shake up the meta into a meta that is more diverse, so we'll see. So first off, we're going to see that we have two Moonlight 5 stars getting changed. We have Martial Artist Ken and Twisted Eidolon Kron. These two are probably one of the worst ML 5 stars in the game. Both of them are very bad. But after these buffs, you guys might see that they're going to be playable. We also have two RGB 5 star Covenant units in Biho and Elagos. Biho's okay, Elagos is okay for cleaving, but they're going to be even better now. We have three 4-star Moonlight units in Moon Bunny Dominion, Crescent Moon Rin, and Inferno Kawasu. Honestly, all three of these units are playable besides maybe like Crescent Moon Rin, but after these buffs, I think they'll be a pretty good pick into certain units. And we also have a 3-star Moonlight unit in Shadow Knight Pillis. I'm not too sure why she's getting buffed because she's already very good for Guild Wars offense. One of the best Dark Knights in the game for Guild Wars offense, so pretty interesting that they did buff her. But let's see what these buffs are all about because I looked at these prior to making this video, and let me just say that some of these buffs are very nice and I'm very excited for them. First off, we have Martial Artist Ken. So Martial Artist Ken is being changed. Basically, first off, like the skill enhances gonna be updated so it actually is not as cluttered and make it more updated and in line with other unit skill enhanced text. And you're gonna see his S1, instead of having a 75% chance to decrease attack, which was good when it landed, it's now going to be a 100% chance to provoke for 1 turn, which is going to be extremely good at locking down units. It's going to be very good against units like Navy Captain Landy to lock her down so she can't actually S3, and also just good against any unit in general to prevent them from actually getting their turn off. 100% chance to provoke is pretty strong, especially on a damage dealing unit that wants to get attacked, because you know that Martial Artist Ken has those counter attacks, so I think it's going to be a very good buff for him. Also, you can actually soul burn this for 10 souls to increase the damage and always crit with it. So it's going to be very good against Navy Captain Landies because you can bypass that innate crit resistance and just always crit and do a ton of damage. We also have his S2 being changed. Instead of getting effect resist, it's actually being removed. And what's changing is that at the start of battle, you grant yourself Vigor for 3 turns. Now, I don't know why they removed this effect resist change. It's kind of weird because ML Ken does need a lot of stats and does want effect resist. I think they should have just kept it, but maybe they'll actually add it back if he ends up being not as good as they hope. But basically, Vigor buff, very good. 3 turns of Vigor, just a lot more tankier, a lot more damage. You're also going to see that his counterattack mechanic is changed. Basically, when an ally except for the caster suffers a critical hit, he will counter, which is insane. And when he suffers a critical hit, he'll counterattack with Dragon Flame. Now, Dragon Flame is that signature uppercut kick-like thing that will do a ton of damage. Now it's going to actually penetrate target's defense by 40%, which is insane. And this will also always crit. And you're going to be seeing that it's going to actually lose the CR push on it, so you are going to not cycle as quickly. But I think the fact that you actually can crit, counterattack when your allies get crit is actually insane. And the Vigor buff is going to be a very good change as well. And you can see the overall damage is going to be decreased. So it's kind of weird that this is in green because it's a nerf, but basically the overall damage is being decreased, but I'm pretty sure against units that are going to be like bruisers that stack a lot of defense, the overall damage is going to be increased, if that makes sense. So next we have his S3 being changed. Basically just will do more damage, which is always nice. Damage buffs are always great because they did remove that soul burn and put it into his S1. So interesting changes. I think he'll be a lot more usable now because he does counterattack a lot more, but keep in mind that he will get countered by units that counterattacks like Verwana and stuff like that, and even like Pillis, right? So be careful about that. But I think this provoke change is going to be very good for his kit because he can just lock down a unit and just continuously counterattack that unit. And if you do ignore him now, even if you crit another ally of his, you'll get counterattacked as well. Albeit, it won't be the Dragon Flame attack, it'll be the S1 attack. But after you do counterattack with this S1, you can provoke them and then have units attack ML Ken, which is insane. I think this is a very good change for ML Ken. Pretty excited that they finally actually did buff him, or I guess change him into a different way. I think this is like the second time he's been reworked like this, so hopefully it does end up being pretty good because he does seem like he'll be good into Navy Captain Landy. Next we have ML Kron. So this is the other big change of this patch. I think ML Ken is a huge change, and we also have ML Kron. Basically, instead of needing to have a buff on the target at the enemy's turn, it's just at the end of an enemy's turn, which makes a lot more sense, and you'll gain that fighting spirit. And you're also going to see that it's still pretty much the same, but instead of consuming the fighting spirit to get enraged and CR push, you're just going to keep the fighting spirit you have. So if you reach 10 fighting spirit, you'll keep that fighting spirit, CR push yourself, but you won't get enraged anymore. You're going to see that he doesn't need the enrage effect because his S3 is also being changed. So before, it would actually do additional damage basically when you have enrage, which makes it so that you kind of needed to actually proc that 10 fighting spirit and actually survive that long, which was very, very hard. But now you're going to see that you actually don't need 10 fighting spirit to use his S3 because the damage will just scale proportional to that fighting spirit you have. So if you want to use his S3 early to snipe out a character that's like hiding in stealth, like S10 or something, you can actually use his S3 early and you won't lose out on too much because you are still going to do damage proportional to the fighting spirit you have, and you will use that fighting spirit. Now, of course, you do want to get to 10 fighting spirit because it is his max damage and it will make him do a ton more damage, and you do get that CR push as well. But now you have more options with Kron. You can actually use it early, and even now it's going to be a lot more easier to generate that fighting spirit, which is a step in the right direction. And his S3 damage is getting buffed as well, which is very, very good. I think he might be pretty good. I don't know if he'll be like super broken because it's not like a huge change to him, but it does tackle his biggest weakness, was that it took way too long for him to ramp up. And now you can actually use his S3 earlier if you really need to, and it does more damage now because even before, if you did get that enrage, sometimes you wouldn't even win the fight off of it, comparative to like ML Landy's S3. When ML Landy S3 is like, she pretty much just wins the game. With ML Kron, even if you got that S3 off, you wouldn't really win. But now with this damage buff and the fact that you have more options, I think he'll be a lot more better for the meta. Next, we have Bihu. So Bihu, I'm not gonna lie, he was pretty decent. I don't think he's terrible. He's definitely usable because he was very good into ML Landy and with burn comps, but he's gonna be even better now. So the first thing is that his Scorching Flare, his S1, will actually activate the upgraded version when it is used on his turn now at 100% rate instead of 50%. So it's kind of the change that they did to Spirit Eye Celine a while back. And they are moving that soul burn as well to his S3 to actually decrease the cooldown. And this is going to be super, super good because just getting his S3 off multiple times will make him a lot more stronger. I think this is a pretty small change on paper, but I think it'll make him a lot more consistent and a lot more usable. I don't think he'll be super broken or anything, but he will definitely be a solid pick into those Navy Captain Landy teams, especially because he can use his S3 a lot more now and actually cycle very quickly with this. So I think he's going to fit a similar niche to Sharoon, where you can pick him kind of as like a disrupting unit, as a certain counter to certain units, but I don't think he'll be like super broken and just like first picked every game. Also, we have like Elagos getting changed here. So Elagos getting changed is just going to do more damage and have increased hit chance, so you can actually hit those ice units because there's a ton of good ice units right now. So like Shu and stuff like for Guild Wars. So I think he'll be a lot more consistent now. Mostly only going to be used for cleavers though, because his kit is very cleave oriented. Now let's look at the Moonlight 4-star. So first off is Moon Bunny Dominion. Kind of weird, she's already still pretty good, but they're actually upping the chance on her sleep, which is interesting. Gonna be a lot more annoying. They're also giving her more effect resist to make her easier to build because she has to be built very quickly. And also it's a very good change on her S2. Instead of that barrier and immunity, you're actually going to get a cleanse and a skill nully and immunity. So basically the barrier is being changed from a barrier to a full cleanse and skill nullifier, which is going to be a lot better and will make her a lot more consistent. And you're also going to see that when you skill enhance her S2 now, she'll get even more effect resist. So basically they're making it so that you can build her on 20% less effect resist and just put that substat into speed and make her even quicker. Also, her S3 is being changed so that instead of giving a skill nullifier to herself, because she's getting that skill nully from her S2, when the enemy starts their extra turns, so like Conquer Lace and stuff like that, you're actually going to give that barrier to everyone, and that barrier will skill with her health like it did before. So basically, they're giving that skill nullifier to the entire team now, and will make that barrier on her S3 and basically just have her had a higher chance to sleep and have higher effect resist, so she's easier to build. I think she'll be very good. She already was pretty good into Conquer Lace for Guild Wars offense and for cleavers, but I think she'll be even better now for sure, and definitely will see more play. Next we have Crescent Moon Rin. So this is one of my favorite units in the game. She's a very good opening unit if you can build her very fast, but she had a problem where she was pretty inconsistent, and if she didn't actually strip buffs, she couldn't take that extra turn. But now they're changing her skills so that she doesn't really need to rely on landing her skills now. Even though you do want to land them, if you get 15%, you won't get punished, because before if she did get 15%, she was pretty much useless. But now you're going to see that they did change her skills so that it will just grant her an extra turn. So her S1's being changed to a stun now instead of a random buff to herself, and you can soul burn this to actually stun at 100% chance, similar to Payra, which I think is a very, very good change for her. And they're also changing her S2 and her S3. So before, her S2 would stun and then steal 2 buffs, and you pretty much give those buffs to your allies. But now they're changing her S2 to actually steal the buffs before the stun. Now this will, like they say, make it more versatile. I'm not too sure how. I'm pretty sure I'm missing out on something here. She's probably going to be good against a certain unit that can like cleanse themselves or something. If you guys know what this is for, let me know in the comments down below. But it will be a more overall versatile change, I guess. But now we have her S3, so her S3 is going to be pretty huge now. Instead of granting immunity to everyone, you'll grant crit damage, critical hit damage buff, and also you're going to grant an extra turn when you actually crit instead of when you actually dispel buffs. So before, if you got 15%, you would actually not be able to get that extra turn, or even if you go into a high ER target and you don't have enough effectiveness, you would not get that extra turn. But now, as long as you just crit, you'll get that extra turn, so you can just build her on a 100% crit chance, and just be careful about units that have built-in crit resist like MLG, and yeah, you're good to go. And this critical hit damage buff is super good. It'll make her very good for cleaving and just a lot more versatile. And also, if you build her on damage now, you can actually use your S3, give yourself that critical hit damage buff, and then also S2 after, and maybe one-shot a unit because her multipliers weren't that bad, especially because she's a thief. So I think she'll be a lot more versatile now. She can use as an opener and, you know, disrupt enemies very easily. The only thing is she doesn't have a CR push for her team or a CR pushback, so you have to keep that in mind. So she won't be as good as some other openers, right? But if you pair her with something that can cleave very fast, or with like a Watcher Shuri on like a Sasha's Ithanes, then she might be very good. But because she doesn't have AoE either, she can't be paired with stuff like Summertime Mysteria, so just keep that in mind. But I think she'll be a lot better now, and I'm very excited to actually use her. Next we have Inferno Kawasu. Not too sure why he's getting buffed. He's pretty good now with MLG because he can one-shot her. But basically they're making it so that his CR push is a little bit higher, which is definitely good, and that the damage detonation on his S3 is going to be higher as well. Not really sure why they did this because most of the time you're going into squished units anyways, but buffs are always appreciated, and I think it'll make it so that he'll be a lot better into MLG, because usually before it was like you one-shot MLG and just die, but maybe now if he does get that S3 off again, he can, you know, start doing more damage to tankier units. So yeah, a lot of units that will be good into MLG now, especially because MLG has been running around everywhere, and now she has so many answers, especially with like limited Lilius coming out next week, so I think she's going to see a lot less play, especially because Inferno Kawasu also got buffed, who is a very good counter to her. Next we have the last unit getting buffed here. It is Shadow Knight Pilis. Like I said, I don't really know why she's getting buffed. She's already very good. But basically, they're going to make it so that she'll get more healing every turn. Instead of 3%, she'll get 5%, which is very good. It is almost a double increase in the amount of healing she's getting. You're also going to see that another rune is being changed, where instead of an ally except for herself is attacked, when anyone on her team is attacked by a counter attack, dual attack, or extra attack, you will decrease damage suffered. So the biggest weakness of Shadow Knight Pilis was that if you didn't have her tanky enough, she would actually sometimes die in Guild Wars offense to like those Shu and Senya teams. But now that she has that damage reduction for herself as well, it's going to be a lot better for herself because, yeah, obviously she'll be a lot more tankier, and she also has that more healing, so she'll be a lot more tankier for Guild Wars offense. So this is a very good change for her. I think she was already very good, but this will make it so that you can actually hard counter defenses a lot more easily, and against those Conquer Lilius, you know, Shu, Senya team comps in Guild Wars defense, which you see all the time, she'll be even better than she was before. So yeah, for me, I run that defense, so I probably will switch off of it after this change, because now the win rate of that defense should go down by quite a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this patch though. There's a lot of changes. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys are actually the most excited for. For me personally, I'm the most excited for MLG Kron because I have MLG Kron, but I've never really used him because he was really bad, but hopefully he'll be a lot better now and he'll be able to be used in PvP. But yeah, thanks for watching this video though, guys. If you guys want to see more content like this, make sure you guys subscribe, and also leave a like to help me out with the algorithm. Peace.